Hi, Rob here from way out west. First, let me ask, were you at the Brothers gig at our new venue, the Yarraville Club, on the 1st of Feb? Let me know your thoughts. The feedback we got was that it was a major success. Everyone was very happy. A week or so ago, I had the absolute pleasure of talking to Kenny Brown, all the way from Potts Camp, Mississippi. Kenny and the incredible Dom Turner will be at WOW Sunday, March the 1st from 2 p.m. I'm sure many of you will know who Kenny Brown is. If you don't, let me give you a little teaser. Kenny was the adopted son of the legendary R.L. Burnside and toured and played with R.L. for 20 years. And that is only a snippet of what Kenny has achieved in his storied career. Sit back and listen to the story of Kenny's involvement with what is known as Hill Country Blues. It truly is an amazing story. Please hit the like and subscribe button and get online and book a ticket for what will be an amazing show. And as always, rock on, my friends.
So
Thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat. I'm
oh yeah, man, no
blown
problem.
away. Can I can I ask?
ask?
I believe you were born in Selma, Alabama, at an Air Force base. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. My dad was in the Air Force. He was stationed there, and I was there, I think, for 4 to 6 months, something like that.
Did you guys move around a lot?
No, actually, um, he moved my mom and myself back to Mississippi, where they were from, to a little town. When I was like somewhere 4 or 5, 6 months or something.
Get that.
Back, he moved us back to Mississippi, where my mom and dad were both from, a little town called Nesbit.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm really interested to know how you got your first guitar.
Well, we used to get comic books when I was a kid in the 60s, you know. Well, yeah, this was about the 60s. And on the back of these comic books, you could order flower and vegetable seeds, and you sell enough of them, you could get different prizes. And my brother and we ordered seeds, and we rode our bikes all around the little community selling seeds to the people. And I got a little plastic guitar, but it would tune up and came with a little book. And I think my brother got a BB gun or something like that.
Cool.
And that's how I got the first one, that I was picking around on it, trying to, learn from what it told you in the book, how to tune it and different stuff. And,
Yeah, I believe you
you
also
know,
had a fantastic relationship with Mississippi Joe Callicott. He was a big influence on your career. I'm happy to say that I have an album, Ain't I Gonna Lie to You, and I reacquainted myself with it yesterday. What a fantastic album that is. And how did
which
you
one?
get to meet Mississippi Joe?
Well, he moved in right next door to me. Uh, my mom one day came home from school. She had me a K acoustic archtop guitar, and I took a few lessons from people. They were trying to teach me to read music, Yankee Doodle, Mary Had a Little Lamb, stuff like that. And I wasn't doing too good with the reading music, and uh, my brother came in one day. I was trying to play guitar, and he said, "You should go over and see Joe, the guy that moved in next door." There was a little sharecropper shack over there, and Joe had moved in there. And I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Well, he plays guitar and he's pretty good too." I said, "Oh, that old guy?" He said, "Yeah." So I got to watching, and I'd see him sitting out on his porch playing, and then saw some, hippies coming around, long-haired people. And so I got my nerve up and went over and introduced myself to him, and he told me, "Come on over." So he thought I had a little toy guitar or something, and
Yeah.
I had a guitar almost same as his,
Mm.
and he uh, he just started playing songs and singing. I knew the chords,
Mm.
and yeah, he slapped me on the yeah, hit it like that, boy. Don't be afraid of the bass,
Yeah.
and things like that. But he was singing songs, and I was playing on, and I got to where I went there every day, and sometimes a couple of times a day. And if like if my parents couldn't find me, that's the first place they would look.
And he wouldn't have been a young man then, because I believe he was born in 1900. Is that correct?
It's possible. He died in '69, and I thought they said he was 72, but I could be wrong.
Mhm.
But yeah, his wife told me that he rolled over in the bed and said, "Can he be a good boy and drive for yourself and the other fella too?" And that was the last words he said.
Oh, wow.
I was
Fantastic.
I was getting close to getting my driver's license, and he used to tell me that all the time. Drive for yourself and the other fella too. you know.
You had some great learnings of the blues guys when you used to visit the Como picnics. Who were some of the artists you see now, and where exactly is Como Park?
Um, Como, you mean the Other Turner
Yes, yes.
picnics?
Yeah.
Well, the first time I ever heard fife and drum music, I was like 7 years old, and where my folks were building a house up in Nesbit, and I was out playing in the yard, and I heard music, and I thought it was somebody playing a radio or something, and I got to listening, and it was getting louder and louder, and getting closer and closer to me, and I figured out it was coming down the road, and they had a fife and drum band in the back of a pickup truck, and they were riding around the community advertising there would be a picnic. I didn't know what they were doing, but I was 7 years old,
Mm.
and they turned in right across the road from my house. And
Mm.
went over the hill there across from my house, and there was a guy had picnics there, and when we moved in there, they'd be having those. I wanted to go over there so bad, but I was like 7 years old, but my parents wouldn't let me go over there. They didn't go over there, but it was mostly a black thing, from what I understand. And but I would hear that music, they'd play late into the night. And my bedroom window was on that side of the house, and I don't think we had air conditioning back then, so you'd have the windows open in the summertime.
Mm.
But then later on, I got to playing with Johnny Woods and R.L. Burnside and different ones. And some of the first picnics I went to was with R.L., after we started going out playing. And then I went to Other Turner's and played at his place quite a bit.
It's interesting. One of my questions was I was going to ask you what exactly drum and fife music is. I know because I love to rehearse, look up things. So, can you tell our listeners what drum and fife music is?
Well, it seems like, somehow it came from Africa, to me. I mean, some of those early picnics that I went to, I was they were always drinking. I was smoking a little stuff, occasionally. And I remember, sitting at sitting around a fire, and they had a fire out there, but it's usually a bass drum and a couple of snares, or two or three drums, and the fife is like a flute
Mm.
that actually I got one right here.
Mm.
It's a piece of cane that they cut off and take an iron rod and heat it up and burn holes in there. But I remember, one of the early picnics that I was at, sitting around and they would kind of dance around the fire, and the fife player would be leading the procession around the fire. And I was sitting back over there leaning against a tree, and it was just like, I could almost feel that it was like an African thing from what I
Oh,
knew about Africa.
yeah,
But,
incredible.
and I'm sure, it got handed down through the years, from that.
Yeah. You mentioned just RL just a second ago, and you sort of started playing with in the early 70s. Tell us a little bit about RL, and I believe he called you his adopted son.
Yeah. I, yeah. I don't know if that was a curse or a blessing. Sometimes I wonder about that about playing blues,
Yeah.
or even music. I mean, music's a great thing and a good healer and all, but some of the stuff, you go through playing in beer joints and places, especially some of the rough places. But uh, okay. Yeah, what was the question? I
Yeah,
lost train
just
of
give us a
thought there.
little insight into RL. I've seen him a few times. He used to love to
Yeah.
tell jokes too, I think, from
Yeah,
memory.
he did. I met him in the early 70s. A friend of mine put on a little concert and had a band from the college there playing. And he lived near RL
Mm,
and he knew RL. And he had RL come and open up the show for him.
mm,
And it was RL. And he had a guy with him that sounded like, I thought he was blowing harmonica, but he didn't have a harmonica. He was just making all the sounds up through the microphone with his voice. But anyway, after they got through playing, I went up and introduced myself to RL and told him that I played some guitar and uh, liked what he was doing. Would he teach me something? He told me where he lived. Come on down to his house. So a few days later, I started going down there, and it became like family to
mm,
me. The kids. He had a lot of kids, and I'd get all. I was doing construction work. He was working on a farm, and I'd go down there. He'd get off work. I'd get off work, go down there. Sometimes we sit up till midnight or so. He'd show me all of his songs and play.
incredible.
He's a real good guy. And
There's I hope this question's not out of line, but as I said, I'm a real history buff of all things blues, and Mississippi wasn't a state really known for its civil rights in those periods. Uh, how were you treated, like as a white guy joining and primarily playing black music?
man, Mississippi gets a bad rap.
Mm,
Movies and stuff. I know there was a lot of bad stuff went on, but I think it went on in a lot of places. But Mississippi just catches
mm,
the brunt of it. But like even before they integrated the schools, the road that I grew up on, there weren't but a couple of white families. There were many black families nearby,
mm,
and we just all got along really good. You know,
mm,
it was the kids I rode bicycles with lived right up the road. They were black. We all did good. Until
mm,
they integrated the schools. We fought a little bit then. Then we got over that. Still friends with a lot of those guys. But and like the Burnside. But like my grandfather. After he found out I was going out to juke joints and playing, and a lot of times, I'd be the only white person in the
mm,
place. And as long as I had a guitar and I wasn't trying to take somebody's woman,
mm.
I never had any trouble.
Oh,
But
fantastic.
and that's one thing my grandfather, he was a very religious person, and, you know, real straight. I never saw him drink or smoke or any of that or cuss. He called me to the side one day and he said, "I know you go in those places playing. Playing music. I don't want you to stop playing music, but I tell you, just don't mess with anybody's woman in there."
Sarah.
And I
Yeah,
thought I was kind of shocked that my grandfather would be telling me that because I didn't,
yeah,
and I know he went through a lot more stuff than I ever thought he did.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's like your parents get wiser the older you get.
yeah,
You
yeah.
think they're dumb when you're a kid.
I like that. Now, I've seen Cedric Burnside play quite a few times. He's keeping that music alive. Do you still get
Yeah,
and see Cedric and play with him?
yeah. We played it. Actually, he played with me. I think it was last year.
Mm,
Last time I played the Como picnic, Sade, Otha Turner's granddaughter's carrying that on.
mm,
And last time I played there, I didn't have a drummer, and I saw Cedric there, and he played with me, and it was just like old times.
mm, mm,
We hired him after his father. When RL and I started going on the road after we did that Two Bad Jim record.
mm,
Uh, Between the time that we recorded the record and before we started going on the road, Calvin Jackson, who was Cedric's father,
mm,
moved overseas, was living overseas. So we were looking for a drummer. RL and I were, and RL said, "Well, I got a grandson that plays drums. He's pretty good." I said, "Yeah, will they let him go out on the road with us?" And he said, "They will if I tell them to." So, so we hired Cedric, started taking him with us when he was about 14.
mm.
And, I pretty much, me and RL pretty much raised him out on the road
Wow.
because, I would go get, get his homework from school. And, he would take it with him out on the road and I, tell him, do your homework. And he would do his homework, take it back to school and stuff.
Cool. You've got a great back catalogue of music yourself. I love your music. And you've
Oh,
played
thank you.
guitar on albums with the likes of Junior Kimbrough, Frank Frost, who's another favourite of mine, and Cyndi Lauper. She's not really known as a blues singer. Can you tell us a little bit of how that happened?
Uh, they, gosh, let me see, I'm trying to think of his name. Scott Bomar in Memphis. She wanted to do a blues record, and I think she called it Memphis or something like that.
Mm,
But they called me and asked me to come play on a couple of songs. And it turned out I only sang on one. I mean, only played on one. But yeah, it was just one day thing. I went up there and played, and I think Howard Grimes, really great drummer, played on it, and Ann Peebles sang on it, and so got to see all those people, and yeah,
it's
but it
cool.
was, and Cindy, she was nice lady, she was serious, taking care of business.
Fantastic. And another favourite of mine is the incredible Jesse May Hempel. And I believe he played on the 2004 album Dare to Do It Again. Do you have any recollections of that session? Because she must have been some sort of character.
Jessie May was great. I've played with her several times and knew her and used to see her a lot and go by her house, see her and visit with her. And she was great. Yeah, I remember doing the record. We did it in a it was an old sweet potato house that a friend of mine had on his place. Sherman Cooper down at Como had a house that his great grandfather built. It was like a barn where they stored the sweet potatoes, but he turned it. I mean, he just stored stuff in there. But I can't remember who produced that, but they had several of us come and play in there on that. That was fun. R.L. Boyce was there, and Jesse May, and several different people. Yeah.
Incredible. And also tell us about your connection with Widespread Panic. So,
Uh, only way I knew them was through JoJo Herman. He lived in Oxford. I don't know if he went to school there or what, but he was there playing around there, and he played in a band called Beanland, I think, and before he went to Widespread Panic. And when he was around Oxford, sometimes like when RL and I would play down there in Oxford, sometimes they'd have after parties, and JoJo would hire us to come out and play an after party or something, and that's how I met them.
Yeah, it's incredible. And
And we
also,
we opened for Widespread a couple of times,
and you
and once
sorry,
Cedric
mate.
and I also opened for them
Yeah,
when we were after RL died. Cedric and me and a bass player played together for a while.
fantastic. What about the connection with Samuel L. Jackson? There's a movie I love, Black Snake Moan. How did that come about?
Well, uh, Fat Possum Record Company, they called me one day and said that somebody was wanting to do a movie and they wanted us to be in it, play something in it, me and Cedric, and wanted to know if I could come down and meet with them a couple of days later. And I said, sure, I'll do it, and just a few days before that, maybe a week before that, I'd been watching a movie that Samuel Jackson was in. They didn't tell me who was going to be in the movie, but I remember watching that movie and thinking, well, he's a pretty good actor. If I ever meet him, I'm going to ask him how he got started acting. So when I went to this meeting with the people, it was in the back of a restaurant in a private room. And when I walked in, everybody else was there. And I looked, and Samuel Jackson was the first person I saw. That was pretty wild.
Yeah,
But that's the way I met him and did thing in that movie.
cool. And you've also done some collaborations with the Black Keys.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I played with them just last week, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. We
Have you?
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going. Yeah, go on a little bit more with the Black Keys. Yeah.
Yeah, the way I got connected, they used to come see us with RL when we would play up in Ohio, and Dan has a studio in Nashville now, and a few years ago, Eric Deaton had done some things with them. He played with Junior Kimbrough and a lot of guys around with RL some occasionally, and Eric called me one day and told me that they were doing a record on somebody and wanted me to come play on it with him. So we went up there. It was Robert Finley,
Mm.
and we did a Robert Finley record. And the way that went, the first day, Dan said, "Kenny, you go in there and play a groove, and Robert, you go sing something." And got about 5 or 6 hours later, we had like 5 songs down, and I think we did 2 days that recording Robert, and then they had us hired for I think 3 or 4 days. So after we finished Robert, Dan said, "Well, we got some more time, so why don't y'all stick around, tomorrow and let's see what happens." And he called Patrick, and we just all started playing some of those blues songs and some RL stuff and Fred McDowell. And we did 2 5-hour sessions, and that became Delta Cream.
Well, yeah. Now,
And
you have been a pretty regular visitor to Australia. I'm sure I've seen you play with R.L. Burnside at the old Byron Bay Blues Festival quite a few
yeah,
years.
we did that. That was a good show. I remember we had a couple of good shows there.
Yeah, fantastic. Have you played with Dom Turner before, or do you know of his music?
Yeah, I know Dom. He's been to my house, visited here, and seen him play over at the Como Otha Turner picnic. But I'm not sure we ever really played together
Mm,
or not. I can't really remember,
mm,
but I've known him for a few years, you
yeah.
know.
Well, you two are going to mesh so well together. Dom's been a regular visitor to our club over our 25
Yeah.
years, and I just can't wait to see you guys
Oh, it's
playing
gonna
it.
be fun.
Yeah,
I think
Sunday, March. Yeah,
we're
sorry, mate.
both
Yes, yeah,
we're both excited about it, looking
yeah,
forward to it, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Sunday, the March the 1st. Yeah, way out west. I'm pinching myself to think that you're coming to play at our club. I'm going, wow, what's going on here?
Well, I
There's a
hope I
lot of
don't
excitement
disappoint you.
around, yeah, a lot of excitement around town, my friend.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yeah,
Hope I don't disappoint anybody.
I don't think you will. So that's
Yeah.
all I've got for today, mate. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I mucked up with the first date. Thank you so much for having a chat. Safe travels, my friend, and we'll see you on March the 1st. And you've got another big festival up at Giracool too, I believe. You're playing it
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Yeah. Jericho, think
yeah,
there's 4 gigs, I think, on that trip, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Be over for a week, I think it is. Uh,
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Not looking forward to the flight, but
No, I know. Yeah, I
but I'm
hear
looking forward to getting there. Yeah.
you. I hear
Yeah.
you. All right, Kenny. Thanks, mate. All the best.
All right.
Safe
All right,
travels.
buddy.
No
Thank you,
worries, mate.
man.
Bye.
All right. Bye bye.